Be careful. He's
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care. As long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement,
Hey.
everybody.
It's time to go behind the funny. Sorry. I was just amazed that we went live.
I know.
I don't know. We had some little bit of technical issues. For
Little
a second, so-
technical difficulties, but welcome, everybody. We're glad you can join us literally live from the Acement.
Yes.
I am Scott Higgins,
And I am Ace Aceto.
and we have an amazing night for you tonight. But before we go there, first, we want to thank our official bourbon, Jefferson's. And tonight we got a special one.
Yeah.
My good friend hooked us up tonight with their reserve. We drink the small batch a lot because it's one of our favorites.
And it's the cheapest.
It is the least expensive, but it doesn't make it the least tasty.
No,
it is
actually,
our go-to,
it's
our
delicious.
favorite, our standard. But tonight we've upgraded and we have the reserve, which is a fine sipping bourbon.
Yes.
So
Cheers.
enjoy, raise your glasses, everybody, whatever you're drinking tonight, because we have an amazing episode. But before we get to that, make sure you are subscribing to the podcast wherever you download your podcast. Please
Yes.
give us that 5-star written review. We got one last week. We got two last week, actually.
Two. Yeah.
And we
awesome.
really appreciate it, guys. That really, we actually got a boost in the
did we in the
rankings last
That's
week.
awesome.
Apple likes to keep everything a mystery the way that they do the rankings.
Yeah.
But we were in the top 200 in South Korea.
I know. I told my daughter Madison that, and she started laughing
Top
at me.
200 in South Korea. We're very proud of that.
Yeah.
We're breaking down political barriers.
That's
what
right.
we do from the Acement.
Yes.
But no, you guys have been awesome, and that continues to help other people find us as well as help us in the rankings. So if you could do that, it's a great way to support the podcast, and all it costs you is a few seconds to smash that 5-star button and give us a review. So we really, really appreciate that. And we still have the giveaway to the end of June.
Yeah.
Everyone that gives us that 5-star written review is going to get put into a drawing for a free live from the Acement Behind the Funny hoodie.
Look how beautiful this is. I wear it every week.
I have my model wearing it.
Yes.
This
I'm not standing up.
right here on the hoodie of your choice.
Yeah.
Either a zip up where it's on the back, or the pullover like Ace is wearing where it's on the front, your choice.
Yep.
We will reach out to you. But let's get to our guests. I don't want to delay. We say we're excited every week, but
Yes.
this to
is
me,
an exciting one for Scotty.
this is so
Right?
this is a huge one for me because we've been telling stories. We talked to people about their starts, about where they came from.
Yep.
Stuff came up. This
And
literally
way back when we turned the tables
Yes,
in
season one.
when I got to interview you before I was the official co-host,
yeah.
that's what I asked you. I asked you how you started, and you've heard us talk about this multiple times on the podcast about how Scott got his start and how our buddy lied to the club owner.
Most recently, Dave Russo. We told
Yeah.
that story that
Yep.
my very first time in an actual comedy club,
Yep.
this guy lied to the booker and told him I was from out of town looking for a spot. And on a Sunday night, I walked up on stage and broke my cherry. And, and it was an ugly mess, but the hook was sank, and
Yes.
here we are almost 20 years later.
And
I would, but
I'll let you do the honors.
I would not be here without this guy. He has traveled the country literally dozens of times.
Started in Rhode Island.
Moved
to Jersey and was a road comic out of New Jersey for a while. Right?
Cut his teeth in Boston, in the Boston comedy scene, worked out in New Jersey, spent time in Florida. Now he's in Las Vegas, but nothing but mad respect and love for this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, proud to introduce Mr. Cal Verduchi.
Hey,
there he
man,
is.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the love. I didn't even know I was this popular.
You have literally been mentioned a million times on this podcast.
Do you remember it was in North Andover?
I do. Yeah, it was the Grill 93.
Yes, yeah.
It was Ron Sava.
Yes.
The thing about, and I remember the thing about Ron Sava is he wasn't really a comedy guy. He was just a restaurant owner. So that's why I was able to get away with that shit. He didn't know the difference. You know what I mean?
Was early on before he really became a booker, right?
Yeah. And the thing that I love, I remember it so well about that night is you were like, I'm gonna try to be clean. I'm not gonna say fuck.
He's never gonna let this go.
Because it was, and I don't care that you did because I wouldn't. But then he goes up there and he's like, fuck. Like,
that's awesome.
Every other word, it was.
Hey, you know what the sad part is? Here we are almost 20 years later, and I'll come up with an idea for a new bit. And I'm like, you know what? I've been doing a lot of fundraisers, so I'm going to keep it on the cleaner side. And I go up there and I'm like, how the fuck's everybody doing tonight? I just can't help myself. It's just so freeing once you get up there.
It is. And the prude comics don't realize sometimes using that word, it just makes a joke better certain time. Not saying every time, but it
not every other word.
Yeah, it gives it that right punch, and sometimes it just makes it better. Sometimes, let's be honest, we do it out of being nervous. I mean, we're just like, fucking, just because it makes us feel more relaxed. Which I think that is what happened to you that night. You're probably nervous.
Well, what I remember most about that night was all I cared about was getting out what I had written and rehearsed. And Larry Miles, who still 20 years later calls me Scott Hastings, still cannot get my last name correct 20 years later.
Hey, Scott Hastings.
If I was in Boston right now, it would still be Valduchi or Verduchi. It would still be.
Yeah. The guy just doesn't get anybody's name right, but he was hosting and Russo was doing a spot on that night, and you introduced me to both of those guys, who I'm still friendly with to this day. And so I get up there, and they had given me 5 minutes. I think I plowed through the material in about 3.5, and because my first time, I had nothing left.
Right.
Were you able to fill it with fucks though?
I think
the fucks out. He had a minute and a half.
I was going to say I filled at least a minute of that 3.5 with fucks because I was laying it on thick. But I turn around to say back to your host, and he's not there. He's not in the room anywhere to be seen.
See, I don't remember this. I don't remember that.
Oh, and Russo remembered it too, because Russo hopped up and saved me, because he knew that I was going to flame out if he didn't. And he jumped up and took the mic for a couple of minutes, and then Larry came back in. And
because Larry was probably in the back of the room trying to score some waitress.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely. Right. If I remember Larry correctly. Oh, absolutely.
And then Cal also introduced me to our the legendary Joey Santigate.
Oh yeah.
And
I still to this day don't know if that guy fucking likes me or not.
It doesn't matter. He's long gone.
I don't know. He probably got whacked or something. I don't know. Who knows what happened
with a
to him?
shark skin suit. Remember, he used to wear those shiny shark skin suits
on the weekends. He always did.
On the weekends. Yeah.
I remember that was a guy you would call him to give him avails and try to get work. And if you didn't have something available, he would get mad at you.
Yes. What do you mean you're not fucking?
What? You guys fucking crack me up. You guys crack me up. You call for dates and you're not available. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going to give you a date where I'm not available, and just take it and cancel it because you're so important.
Yeah, it's almost like he looked at all your dates and then picked the one date in the middle of that wasn't available. And they go,
oh yeah,
why aren't you available Christmas Eve?
And he's mad because you're not taking the free showcase spot.
Yeah,
because you have a paid spot.
Oh yeah, exactly. I remember that was the ultimate goal. Like I want to get that free spot at the Comedy Connection in Boston. Yeah, I'm like why do I give a shit about that? You know, I mean,
right.
But yeah, in the beginning, that's how I got started. Is I did the Monday night with Noxie, and then there was one Monday night you came up when I did it, and we went afterwards to a room that I think Johnny Joyce was running or something. There was a late night show that we did afterwards. And I just remember, I don't know how my wife stayed married to me, because I was coming home at like 2 a.m. on a Monday night from Boston.
That's part of it, man. That you just stay out late and try to get as many shows as you can.
Well, that's exactly what it was. That was exactly what it was. So
and I mean, shit, man, that makes me miss Noxie too, man. Noxie was shit. I mean,
still
that's the guy who could say fuck and it was an art form.
Yeah,
like, fucking Jesus Christ, shit faced, fucking
Man, I used to love when he'd walk in the green room and he'd be like, "Look at you, fucking young guys! Your cocks are hard. Look at you! You're the audience. Oh my God, you got the world by the balls. Look at you."
Captain Cocaine.
Yeah. He was amazing.
There was no one like him.
No.
You know what? And I still have that first time that I did the connection that you taped for me, Cal. I still have that tape where Noxie, still to this day, probably the best introduction I ever had, because you had told him, this is my buddy Scott. He had done comedy, but he stepped away for a while. Now we're getting him back into it. And instead of him introducing me as one of the open mic guys, he says, this is an old friend of ours. We've been trying to get him back for years, and we finally talked him into coming on tonight. You guys are going to love him, ladies and gentlemen. And the crowd, he made them like me before I even stepped up on stage.
Right.
And I ended up having a decent set that night. The material
that was the great part. He was like a cheerleader. Yes. I mean, he really... He got that crowd. I mean, there was times where like, shit, I have to follow this, but it worked somehow because he brought that energy and he got everybody excited about every comic.
Exactly. Exactly. It didn't matter if it was your first time on stage, your millionth time on stage. He made that audience want to hear whatever you had to say.
That was just the magic of Noxie.
Yeah.
Now we talked about when I started, but when did you actually start? Because you started really young, didn't you?
I started when I was 19. Yeah.
Wow. What year?
94.
Yeah, because that was pretty much your lifelong dream, wasn't it? To do
it wasn't necessarily. It was sort of. It's always been. Film has been another thing that I've always wanted to do, and I went to film school, but what happened is when I was in college, I mean, I was always the class clown, and I grew up on SNL, and Dana Carvey was like a big influence of mine. Like I went to see him when I was a kid, when I was like 12 years old. My mom took me, as a matter of fact, and that kind of gave me the bug right there. And then when I moved out to Chicago for college, and there was an open mic in an all-black comedy club. And it was the only open mic or comedy club that was like right up the street from me. I didn't have a car out there, so I could walk to this place. So one night I got to try it. I got to try it. And I went up there and I forgot everything I was going to say. And literally my whole act was just shitting on the fact that I was the only white guy, performing for an all black crowd. And for some reason they liked it. They had a lot of fun with it. And I think I maybe got one joke that I was supposed to do in, and it was fun. It wasn't like amazing, but it was fun. And then I didn't go up on stage. That was like May of '94. And then I came home for the summer from college. And then I did an open mic in the East Providence Comedy Connection. And then I started doing those a lot. And I met Butch Bradley. You remember Butch Bradley?
Yeah. We've reached out to Butch. We're trying to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he lives in Vegas, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. He just came out with a special on what, Amazon Prime or Hulu or one of those. Yeah.
And he had like something called the Stillwater. It was in Westerly, Rhode Island.
Yeah. Stillwater Cafe.
Yeah, he started inviting me to go to do those shows. And then I started doing those shows, and then you got to meet more and more people, and then I was hooked. I was hooked. I'm like, I got to do this. And I think it was maybe about a year until I got maybe my first paid gig. I don't even remember where my first paid gig was, but I think it might have actually been for him. I don't know.
Yep. Now back up a little bit, because you said you came back home. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in I lived in Rhode Island until I was 12.
Yeah,
and then
but
I moved to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Where in Rhode Island? Where did you grow up?
Lincoln, Rhode Island.
In Lincoln, okay.
Yeah. And then I moved to Plainville, Massachusetts when I was
right over the line.
And
big move.
Yeah,
Big move.
Yeah, was that like 4 miles?
That shit was it was right on the border of Cumberland. And
exactly.
it was literally like
which is on the border of Lincoln.
Exactly.
They used a wheelbarrow to move.
You were a pioneer. Oh yeah, I know.
I think the only difference is the accent. That was the only.
Yeah. No, because I know a bunch of other Verduchis from North Providence, and I think you're related to them.
There's a fucking shock. Yeah,
right. I know.
Every time I would do a show in Rhode Island, I would run into someone who I knew from either childhood or someone who knew a family member of mine. Like, I used to hang out with your father. Like.
Well, it was funny because I grew up with Gara Verduchi.
Oh yeah, Gara. Yeah, the hairdresser.
Yeah, exactly. So what is she, like a distant cousin or a cousin?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And then years later, I was doing a fundraiser show for the American Lung Association, and I got hooked up, and I was trying to find someone that would donate equipment, and I meet this guy Dennis Verduchi.
Oh yeah, no, that's my uncle.
Yeah. So I'm like, how many fucking Verduchis do I know? And then I'm like, and I know Cal. So,
and it's funny, you have my name spelled, my last name spelled wrong.
Did I do it wrong?
People, that's okay, but there is people under that spelling of Verduchi also in Rhode Island.
All right, so how is yours? Is it only one C?
It's CHI instead of CCI.
Oh, all right. You're good now.
Now, when you started doing stuff in Boston, where did you start doing shows in Boston?
Nick's Comedy Stop. I can't even remember how I got on Nick's Comedy Stop, actually. I think I just started hanging out there, actually. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and a lot of guys that did shows at Nick's back in that time, same thing. They would show up, watch shows, meet some of the guys on the shows, and that seems to be the way that they got on. I never did Nick's until years later.
When it wasn't even Nick's anymore.
No, it wasn't even true. When the guys that now own the Connection in Providence, they started booking it for a while.
Yeah,
they booked me one weekend there. So I never did.
How is it now? I mean, I haven't done that room.
I couldn't even tell you.
I haven't been to Nick's in years.
Yeah. I've
there
been
was
there
nothing like the old Nick's. The old Nick's was still to this day my favorite place to perform.
Really?
There was nothing like it. Yeah. I mean, but it was also a room where if they liked you, they loved you. And if they hated you, they fucking hated you.
And they would make that decision within like a minute and a half of your act, right?
Well, for some reason, they always liked me there. I don't know why, because what I had to compete with in that room, you can't even imagine. The class of comics that I did shows with at Nick's, we're talking on a regular basis. It would be Dane Cook, Bob Kelly, Patrice O'Neill, Bill Burr. Those guys were like, they all had about 5 years on me.
Yeah.
And they were I was on the same shows with those guys all the time. It was so fucking intimidating.
Yeah.
But it was one of those rooms, for some reason they did like me. Maybe I a lot of times I would go up in the right spot where I wasn't after Dane Cook. Because I mean, when they put Dane Cook on, they knew where they had to put him on the show. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah. I remember they would put Bobby Kelly after him a lot of times because he was the only guy who could really follow him perfectly,
Right. And not in the way, and only because Bobby was different than Dane. It wasn't because Bobby was even more high energy than Dane. Bobby could he could like reel it back and say, I don't give a fuck if you're going to listen or you're going to laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was the only one who could follow him very well. They worked very well together. I mean, that's probably why they're like, they're best friends,
Right. Well, they started in a comedy troupe before.
Yeah. Al and the Monkeys.
Monkeys. So we actually had Al Del Benny on. He's living down in Sydney, Australia. We had him on last year.
He told some stories of them back in the day, and some of the skits they used to do and everything like that. And
it was and there was another guy that was with them all the time too. I can't remember the guy's name, but I would be on shows with all these guys. I remember at Boston and also the Kowloon and Saugus.
Saugus. Yeah.
I still remember the night Rich Seisler was hosting, who I used to love. That dude would always make up intros for people, and I fucking love that.
Scott has said it. He said it the first time he worked with him one weekend. He was like, "What do you want me to say about you?" And he'd always put like 2 ridiculously uncommon actors and actresses together and make up the name of a fucking movie.
Because it was my second time I ever hosted at the Connection in Providence. The first time I worked with Nardizzi for the weekend. Second time was Seisler, and I love the guy. Absolutely love the guy. And the first night, and the only one I remember was the first night, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I go up to him and I go, Rich, what would you like for your intro tonight? And he goes, let them know I'll be in the upcoming movie Friday Night Poker with Selma Hayek and Chevy Chase. So I said, okay. So I used that as the intro, and they loved it. So the next night, that was back in the day when we worked Wednesday to Sunday.
Oh, so, God. Yeah.
Remember those
Way
days?
Too long to be at that fucking club.
Yeah. So Thursday night, I go to him, hey, do you want me to mention Friday Night Poker again? And he goes, no, tell them I'll be in Longfellow's Pond with Alan Arkin and, Freddie Prinze Jr. And I go, you're in 2 movies? And he goes, no, I make the shit up every night. And I busted out laughing. And every night, every show, even the nights we had 2 shows, 2 different movies, and he'd always have one older actor and one younger actor that you would never see in a movie.
Never see in a movie, right?
That's awesome.
Funny.
And it made the weekend so fun.
But he would host and he would make up intros for other people too. Like the best thing I still remember this. And Dane Cook was backstage and Bobby Kelly, and he brought up Bobby Kelly, which, by the way, I guess it's Robert Kelly now.
Yeah, I know.
Any of us that know him as Bobby Kelly.
Any of us that know him from the Boston days, we still call him Bobby, but now evidently it's Robert.
No, it's Bobby. Bobby.
Bobby fucking Kelly
with the Jerry curl when he had the Jerry curl.
He had hats like these, but they would always be backwards. I remember
Yes. That's so funny.
So Rich Seisler brings him up one night, and he's just like, "This is actually going to be one of this man's last shows because he's dying of AIDS."
My God.
And then he's like, "We're going up to Bob Kelly." And I was in the back fucking dying, and fucking
my God.
Dane Cook was laughing his ass off, which, I did know him back then. And I just remember, and Bobby Kelly just gets, and the first thing he does is just into the mic.
Oh my God.
That's totally played off of it.
Yeah. And then he just got into his regular act, but that was so fucking typical Seisler.
Hey, Cal, before we go on, one of our guests just chatted in a question. Cal, did you work at a car dealership?
Yes.
You did.
That's where him and I met.
Oh, that's how you guys met?
Yes.
Oh. So Steven Stein says,
Steve Stein. The sales manager of Lexus and Norwood, right?
Yeah. We both worked with him at the Lexus store.
He's
wore glasses.
Yeah. He's watching right now. He said, "Hey guys, that's awesome."
Oh my God. Now there's a guy that probably could have done comedy.
Oh, really?
Steve was funny as hell.
There were some really funny people at Lexus. It was another really funny guy, Tom Murphy. At Lexus. Tom Murphy was fucking hilarious. Yeah. There was a lot of funny people at that.
We had such a good crew of people at that time, late 90s, early 2000s, and had so much fun there as a group. And,
the shit that we got away with saying in a workplace.
Oh my God. Do you, and I know it's totally, I apologize, people, because it's totally incorrect, but do you remember the homo high five?
Of course.
We used to do this thing in the middle of the shop from about 20 yards apart. We'd run at each other, flailing our arms in slow motion, and jump up and barely tap hands. And then be like, oh! We used to do that all the time.
Well, that's a great way to open up Pride Month. Thank you.
Right?
We were very proud of it.
We were so proud.
We were celebrating that lifestyle.
We were. You would just randomly do that voice, and I'd say something so over the top.
We would try to, like, he'd walk by and I go, "Hey, honey muffins," and we would try to get each other to laugh. And then one day, this guy walks by. He won one day. This stopped this whole thing from us doing it back and forth. This younger, good-looking guy walks by, and Cal goes, "Those jeans cradle his ass like a pair of denim hands." And I just looked at him and went, "Game over.
God.
Game over."
Oh,
Game
hey,
over.
our
No.
gay friend Mark Shea says he's offended.
Mark Shea is not offended.
Mark Shea is the last person to be offended at anything.
No, Mark's more said he didn't think of it.
Yeah, exactly. We love you, Mark. That's so
we love
funny.
Mark and John.
Oh, but man,
and John, that's right. Yes,
we had so much fun back then.
It was a blast. It was a blast. And I had flexibility there where I think eventually I went down to maybe 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And Mark Verduchi kind of just, Mark is another great guy. He kind of just let me work when I wanted. I don't know how I was able to do that. And I started doing
Cal would go on the road for 2 weeks and come back, and he could go to work for us for a week and then take off again for a little while and then come back. Just kind of work when he wanted. They let him.
And then eventually I moved away, and but it was the perfect job at the time for that.
You made you talked about Cal's mother earlier. Sweetest woman I've ever met in my entire life. She was so nice.
Really?
Every time she came in, she'd come over because he had told her that I had tried it and everything. And I think both your parents had seen me perform because I think they came out that time we did the show together at the SOTP place there in North Attleboro.
Oh yeah, speed of thought players.
Players. Yeah.
It was the improv group,
right?
Yeah.
And Cal was doing a show there, and he had me open up for him, and his parents came out, and his mother every time, because she had a car from Lexus, she'd come in for service, and she'd come over to me, and she'd go, "How are you doing any shows?" And she was just so nice every time she came in.
Mark Shea said he's reported us, and he goes, "I'm only listening to hear about his cat."
By the way, you know what the irony about the whole reported thing is right now is that I don't think I could post this link right now because I can't go live for like 3 months on Facebook because I'm banned from it.
Because you're banned again.
I probably can't post this until after it's done.
Dude, I have literally had like 6 friend requests from you, and I'm already friends with you. And it's because there's like a certain group of people. It's you, Dan Paswell's another one.
Oh, yeah.
Like every 2 or 3 weeks, you get a new friend request from them because they've been banned from Facebook.
It's always for fucking dumb reasons too. Like twice it was because I said white trash. Which is great. I probably just got fucking Facebook jail for that.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, you just got. We're streaming this live on Facebook. You just got us locked out.
Now we can't even. Yeah, we're not even on anymore.
But that's the thing. It won't catch things like this. It'll catch words. It's
right.
When it's the fucked up thing about it. It's so dumb.
Exactly. And we just lost 2 listeners just because you said white trash.
No,
we went from 11 to 9.
White trash people don't know how to dial in and watch this.
True. That's true. That's true.
But twice for that. The most recent one I got. I made a joke about my fucking cat. I got Facebook jail for making a joke about my cat.
And now, wait a minute. Let's let the audience know. What did you name your cat? I love this name.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
It's the most creative name for a cat.
I'm so proud of that.
And you know what? And it was so funny because when we were right before we went live, Cal was like getting himself situated. He was getting his earbuds in, and the fucking cat, he lifts the cat up and she's got the cord in her mouth and she's like,
he had to lock her in another room.
Yeah, he had to bring her in another room.
It's true.
Now, let's be honest, Cal. Yeah, good reasons why that you've been banned from stuff like this. But over your career, you have been known to push a few buttons here and there.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you mean.
You haven't been always afraid to keep your tongue in your pocket and fire out.
I mean, I still to this day do really offensive shit on stage, but I've realized the secret is to smile and giggle while you're doing it, and everyone thinks, oh, it's playful, it's cute. whatever.
Right.
Yeah. It's all about delivery.
Well,
I mean,
listen,
you know?
you've worked with John Parada before, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
buddy.
John is like the Don Rickles of Rhode Island. He insults everyone in the audience.
Yeah.
But he has a smile on his face the entire time.
He makes
that's why he gets it. You know, that's why he gets away with it.
Well, that's why Don Rickles got away with it.
Exactly.
He's so damn likable.
Oh my God, he said it to the president. Did you ever see him talking to Nancy and
Ronald Reagan?
He's like, "Oh, that's okay, Ronnie. Get Nancy, get him some more pudding." You know, or he'd look at someone in the front row. He goes, "Sir, is this your wife?" "Oh, what happened? A train?" You know, but he had a smile on his face the whole time, so it worked. You know.
Oh God! And you know, today, if he was out today, you know, everyone would be like, "Oh, this guy's racist."
Yeah. Oh, he's horrible.
But you know, if he was new today, he would be in trouble.
Right.
But if he was Don Rickles, 50 years in the business, they give you,
he
you
can
know,
get away with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The guy's been around for a while.
You know what? And you know what? Even if cancel culture got a hold of him, he'd be like, "Fuck you! I don't care. Everyone over 50, you love me, right? Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
that's what I'll play to."
Exactly.
You know?
They don't give a shit about that.
No,
exactly.
And that's what we were talking to Mike McCarthy, and McCarthy goes, you know, he can't wait to like move down to Florida and just go around to all the over 55 housing developments and retirement places to perform because they're not politically correct. They don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit at all.
Say whatever you want.
You said that because when I lived in Florida, I did a gig at the Villages, which is
that's the
my
big one.
My father has a place in the Villages.
It's famous in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a lot of VD there.
Famous for venereal disease.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fucking Viagra. So like, but I did a gig there, and when I went there, I was like, holy shit, how am I going to do this? They're over 55. This isn't my crowd.
Yeah.
But they fucking loved it.
Of
They
course.
laughed at everything.
Yep.
Because
The
there
raunchier
was
the better.
no political correctness.
No,
they didn't give a shit. It
Because-
wasn't even necessarily they liked dirty, but they just didn't get offended, you know?
Right,
They
exactly.
didn't care. Yeah.
If it was funny, it was funny. They just laughed. They don't care.
Because you know why?
Exactly.
These people lived through fucking the Depression and World War II and Korean War
Well,
and
a lot of
shit like that.
A lot of them now are even younger than that.
I'm talking before, but
That, you know, you got Vietnam War veterans and you know,
they're not
shit
gonna
like that.
Yeah, they don't give a
care.
shit.
Well,
They're
when
not
you're
gonna be offended.
performing for like a really old crowd, there's two different kinds. There's what I call, you know, there's the old rich white people, which are just fucking terrible.
Yeah,
They're
they get
awful.
uptight about stuff, right?
Yeah, but then there's what I call VFW old, where the kind of old people that would be hanging out at a VFW or an Elks Club,
Right.
or you know, your grandmother that says fuck every other word.
Love those
Those are
people.
those are the kind of
Yes.
people I want to perform for. Those
Yes.
are cool, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you walk into a VFW show and you see the empty Bud bottles and stuff on the tables and stuff, you're like, this is going to be a fun show.
Yeah.
Dude, I love those shows. And you know what was always great about those shows? Those people, they bought those tickets months in advance. They planned that show. That was their
big night out. Yeah, it was a big night out. For
Yeah.
them.
So it was those were always fun.
You know, it's funny you say that about the different types of people, older people. I did a show one night at a country club.
Oh, no. Yeah, not my crowd.
Well, let's put it this way. It's a country club where all the guys were wearing sports coats with the matching crest on it. Type of country club, not the country clubs like Ace and I could play at. The ones where the people talk like this. You know?
Oh, check out the suit on that.
And-
but it looks good on you.
And here was the lineup. Okay, I was the first comic.
Yeah.
Then Mike Pettit.
Yep.
Then Stephanie Peters.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Oh, that's
Okay.
that didn't end well.
Stephanie was headline hosting. So she went up, welcomed everybody, brought me up. Now they told us no swearing, keep it clean, everything like that.
Yeah.
So
Just what you want to tell Stephanie Peters.
I'm doing 20 minutes. I'm doing 20 minutes, and I didn't say a swear. I did my material, but just no swears.
Yep.
And this crowd was giving me nothing. So Stephanie goes up and she goes, "You fucking people." She goes, they told us that we had to be clean and to walk on eggshells around you people, and you fucking gave him nothing, you assholes.
Yep.
Okay.
I love her.
She goes, do you want
so
a fucking adult show, or do you want us to continue tap dancing up here all fucking night long? What do you people want? Because I don't give a shit what they want.
Yep.
And she points to the manager in the back of the room.
Yep.
And the people are like, yeah. So she goes, good. Scott, you got 10 more minutes? Get up here and give him some real fucking material.
And that crushed, right?
And it went fine.
Yeah.
And then Pettit goes up and he does 25. She goes up, crushes, and the rest of the show was fine.
And that's what kills me. Some manager decided for everyone else.
Exactly.
Right.
That these people have to have it clean.
Well,
no.
it's because they're afraid of the one person that complains at everything. So they're going to let that one person. They're going to let that one person dictate what everyone else enjoys. And that's not fair.
But it's, the crowd will dictate. That one person is not going to go against the entire crowd.
Nope.
No. Yeah, you're right.
They never do. They never do.
And at the comic, it's our jobs to feel out the crowd. We can figure out what they want when we start doing our act. You know what I mean?
Most of the time we can figure it out. Sometimes we don't.
Well, sometimes I just say fuck anyway, but
yeah.
And you go down on that flaming ship as it goes under the sea.
That's the benefit. That's the benefit of being the closer, is you can see when the other guys gauge the audience, what's going to work and what's not, Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, I was on a show like that one night where the first two people in front of me both got nothing from the crowd, and I'm like, wow, I really don't.
Were they swearing or no?
No.
Oh,
no.
That's when you go out and start with fuck this.
Well, no, the second comic said no swears, but was extremely dirty with the subject matter.
Oh,
and was getting nothing. It was a female comic that got very dirty, but no swears. The first person was just very blah. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be just bad. But it actually kind of turned around. It took me like 15 minutes to kind of warm them up and get going, and it was okay.
Yeah.
But I think that the first two had zero energy. Energy.
Sometimes those are the best shows where you feel the best about yourself, when you come into a situation where it's tough, but you and it starts out rough, but then when you get them in the end, you're like, I fucking won.
I won them over.
Did it.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Right. You read them. You read them right, and you did it. Now, have you always been high energy right from the beginning? Has that been just who you are, or did you develop that?
I developed it maybe a couple of years in, maybe about a year in. Yeah. I remember what happened was one night I was dealing with an awful crowd, and I just fucking snapped on stage and went like all crazy, and they loved it. They were laughing their asses off, and I'm like, this is I could do this again. This is
right.
And I started performing like that, and it just kind of stuck. Yeah. I mean, I think there was always a Chris Farley influence there.
Yeah.
Where because I was really fat when I started out. And he was kind of my idol, I mean, it was this big fat guy, but he has all this energy, and I was like, fuck, like that's amazing. And I think I definitely latched onto that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I saw you, it was a Wednesday night at the Connection in Boston. You invited me up to see you, and you went on, and that was one of those nights where everyone's doing like 7 or 8 minutes, and you just went on the stage like when they announced your name, like a ball of fire, attacked for 7 minutes straight, and came off. And I'm like, this guy's sweating after 7 minutes.
Dude, I sweat my ass off on stage. I still do. I mean,
and that was also the same night I saw Don Gavin for the first time.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing night. That was the night that I was like, okay, he's right. I got to go try this. So that was, but I just every time I had seen you from that point on. Now that was in 1999 and 2000. So you'd been what, 6 years in at that point?
Yeah, about that. Yes.
Yeah. So you were you pretty much had your stuff worked out and who you were on stage and stuff by then.
I did, but it was amazing how far I did not get in Boston in that amount of time, because Boston, man, Boston's a tough place to get started as far as trying to get your foot in the door. And I'll tell you something, guys like Dane Cook, Bob Kelly and Patrice O'Neill, they did not get much work in Boston.
Yeah.
No.
As fucked up as that is, that is the truth. Because there were certain people that did not like them, comics, and were jealous of them. And
listen, I remember doing the Comedy Connection in Boston, and one of the owners, Dane, was hosting the Wednesday night show. And this is what I've always said about Dane. I give him mad respect because you know what? The same way he jumped around in Madison Square Garden in front of those thousands of people, he did the same thing at the Comedy Connection on a Wednesday night in front of 25 people. He was just as high energy. He gave just as much for the performance. And I remember the owner going, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't think he's that funny. And then fast forward like 5 years after Dane went out to LA and then came back and had blown up. And this guy was falling all over Dane and fucking loved him. And you know, everything turned around. And it's like, God, this fucking business is so hypocritical in some ways.
It's ridiculous, man. I remember that club went through so many bookers.
Oh yeah. Yep.
God, I don't even know. I don't even know who's fucking. Well, there is no Comedy Connection.
Well, there isn't. Yeah, no.
But
they probably went through 5 or 6 bookers just while I was going there.
Oh yeah. And when I started, I think it was when I started, I didn't even get in there with the first booker that was in there.
Yep.
And I might have been the second or third booker. I don't even.
Yeah.
It was always like the bartender or the doorman that took over.
Right. That's
the epitome of the comedy business. Yep. Hey, this guy that serves the drinks is now going to choose the talent. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, do you know Mark Riccadonna?
I know of him. I've only met him maybe like once, but
we had him on the podcast, and I worked with him once before, which I found out on the podcast. But he, you know,
Scott. Scott started telling this shit gig story, and Mark's like, "Yeah, I was on that gig with you," and I'm like, holy shit, Scott has told me this story for years. Couldn't fucking think of the name of the guy that was on with him
the whole time,
and it was you.
That's hilarious. But that's typical because I mean you only remember how shitty it was for you for the most part.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he was trying to do acting and he was working at a comedy club, started booking like the openers, and then he started booking all the acts. And then the next thing you know, if an opener didn't show up or flaked out, he jumped on stage to fill the time and
that's
just
how he started.
Became a comedian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, it's just weird how this business works. There's no definite career path where, okay, if you start as this, you automatically go to this or you go to that. No, just start working somewhere and eventually you'll be the manager.
You'll get somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, but Boston was so hard to move up. I remember, I mean, to this day, I couldn't even get like a feature spot at like Nick's or any of those clubs. That's how tough it was.
Well,
but you've headlined all over the country. That's the thing.
It didn't matter in Boston.
Right?
In Boston,
No.
I was always like a fucking opener. I don't know what it was.
You know what, Cal? On I think Greg Fitzsimmons even talked about it on his podcast. Mark Maron, guys,
Rogan. They've all talked about it.
They mentioned what's called the Sweeney ceiling, that you knew you weren't going to headline in Boston no matter how good you got because you couldn't break that Sweeney ceiling. Those group of guys that were the headliners that never left that are going to be the headliners as long as they're here. So,
I mean, I know it's changed since then. I know it's different now.
Somewhat.
Yeah. But still
there's more work, but you still see those names, doing a lot of the big shows in Boston.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing but respect.
Exactly.
For
I was just going to say the same thing.
But that's the thing.
They're amazing comics, and it wasn't those guys. Those guys weren't the ones that kept me back.
No,
I know of at least 2 people that badmouthed me, and they weren't any of the guys that we all respect and kill. And like fucking, I love Gavin, Sweeney, Tony V. I'm Noxie, Jim Loletta, all those guys. They're fucking fantastic comics. I mean, I would never say anything bad about any of them. I remember, and also I remember because people would bitch about following me being dirty and whatnot, and in Boston, and but like Tony V, such a cool guy. I used to love when Tony V would go up after me. He would just make a joke about it. Like he would just go up. And because remember, I would do my Muppet humping bit, or Miss Piggy. But like the first thing, Tony V, he'd get on stage and the first thing he'd say is like, folks, I don't have anything better than pig fucking. and just everyone was dying like and he played off of that and he's like, you know something, a lot of guys complain about following you. I love following you because I can do that bit and it's fucking a lot of fun. Like,
but that's a guy that's confident in his ability.
Yeah,
on stage.
Exactly.
That's what
it was
that
the
is.
people
He's not insecure.
It was the people who were insecure that would badmouth you. That
now
it
the badmouthers. Do we want to out anybody on here?
I don't. Well.
You don't have to, but we've had people kind of.
Are any of them still
well,
around?
One of them I
still
made peace with. One of them I made peace with.
So
I don't want to badmouth him because I made peace with him. And I remember he badmouthed me to one booker, and that booker didn't even listen to him anyway. So it didn't really affect my career whatsoever. I don't want to. Maybe off air I'll tell you.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But I remember in Boston in the early days, I remember John Panette was at Nick's Comedy Stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was hosting and I did my Muppet thing. And the feature comes up to me and he's just like, you shouldn't do that shit like in front of John Panette. Like, these national acts, they don't want to follow Muppet fuck, right? And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Like, everyone was laughing, kiss my ass.
Let Panette come up to me and talk.
And you know what? And you know what? We got to the second show, and the first show ran long, and they were like, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry to do this to you, but the show ran so long, we might not have enough time for you on the second show." And I was like, "Oh shit! I had people coming to see me."
Yeah.
And so I was telling John Panette, and John Panette was like, no, fuck that. Fuck these people. You're getting on the second show. You're funny. You're getting on the second show. And I'll always remember that. And he stood up for me.
He was just one of the most classy fucking guys ever.
Yeah. And that just goes to show you this feature who was bitching about me, who's the lower man on the totem pole, who's not as funny. He was bitching about me.
Right. Because he was threatened by you. That's why.
Yes.
Right.
And John Panette, no, he didn't give a fuck. He was like, no, you're funny. You're funny. You're doing this second show. So that just goes to show you, man, it's not the people that are incredibly funny that are threatened by you and throwing you under the bus. I mean, maybe sometimes
it's the marginal people.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the marginal people who find you as a threat. That's the difference.
I remember one of the guys. There was one guy that complained about me to Rob Steen, and I barely ever worked for Rob Steen after that. Yeah, and that guy to this day is still a feature, and that kind of makes me happy.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
Now,
when's anything but a feature?
Right.
Steen's rooms are some of the best rooms in New England.
They were a lot of fun.
They still are.
And Maine was my audience, man. I fucking loved Maine crowds.
He gave me a weekend one time where I did Friday night in Portland, Maine, Saturday night in Manchester, New Hampshire, where I closed both shows, both rooms packed, and the crowd just was into it both nights.
Yeah.
It was one of those nights you felt like you could read from the phone book and they're just going to laugh and enjoy the show. They just were just so into it. Every guy on the show had a great set. It was just, the whole thing was great. Steen's room are some of the best rooms in New England, and the crowds up there love comedy.
New Hampshire and Maine were some of the best crowds. Especially Maine. Oh, Maine was just. I don't think I ever had a bad crowd in Maine.
No,
always good.
That's one of those places I think it was impossible to have a bad set, because we've talked about the Connection in Portland all the time. What a great room that was. Other shows I've done up in Maine. I think you're right.
I pissed that guy off really early on.
Oh, all right. Besides,
I don't like that guy, by the way. Oliver, he was a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. I'll say that. I don't care.
Okay. We probably could fill a podcast with the people whose buttons you pushed, or people you've pissed off or have pissed off you.
Probably, yeah.
But
there's a lot of fucking assholes in this business. Let's be honest. It's
entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, Now you mentioned Panat, which it was for me in my career when I got to work with him. I got to work with him 5 times, and amazing. It was one of my highlights, one of my wow moments.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, what were some of your like big moments? Actually, a wow moment for me was not a show I was on, but I went to see Cal when he was at Catch a Rising Star, opening up for Robert Klein.
Oh, I was gonna say that was also a big one because I talked to him backstage, and he was an absolute sweetheart.
You introduced me. You introduced me to him, and you said, "This is a friend of mine, also a comic," and he instantly, just, "How you doing? Oh, you working this weekend?" And just a nice guy. And this guy's a legend.
And I didn't expect that because I should not be opening up for Robert Klein. I'm not. My act does not fit with his. Yeah, but at the same time, I only had to do like 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
So and he didn't tell me to be clean. He didn't tell me to. But I remember
in his act.
The manager was like, "Hey, just try to keep it kind of clean." I'm like, and he's like, "This isn't coming from Robert. He doesn't really care." But and I just did. I did it more out of respect, though. Respect for him because I respect that guy. I mean, and also. Just amazing. The guy was like in his 60s, and he just went up and did like an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, and they loved him. I mean, and he was so much nicer than I thought because I thought he was going to be like this grumpy guy because he's following this high energy, dirty fucking guy like me. But no, he was great. He's very professional, sweetheart of a guy. Nothing but great things to say about him. Another one, highlight in my career was working with Caroline Ray. Was another one.
Really?
I opened up for her at a college. It was like a last minute gig.
Yep.
And my God, probably the nicest woman I've ever met in my entire life. Like, wow. I mean, she's Canadian.
I gotta be honest with you, and him and I both looked at each other. You're the first person to say that about her.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Multiple people have said not nice things about her.
Wow, that surprises me. Yeah, no, she couldn't have been nicer to me.
You know what?
Couldn't have been nicer.
In all fairness, I will say this.
Yes.
You know that you can catch someone on a bad night. You can catch someone on a bad day. And I happen to open up for her on a bad day. So
you have a bad story. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But you're not the only one.
No, I know.
I've heard it from 3 different people, and all of these people worked with her once, so they have one opinion of the one time of working with her.
I didn't even know Canadians got angry. Shit.
Yeah, she had just gotten. She was engaged, and then they had just broken up, and I have a feeling he was the one that broke. I don't remember.
He's a comic.
Yeah. All I remember was that she had just broken up with her fiance. He broke up with her, and she was very anti-man around that time.
And you happen to be one at that point.
I happen to have a dick. I'm sorry. But she was not nice to me at all. That night, I've told a story on this podcast before where the first show, she was standing by the stage pacing, and they said, "All right, go up, do 20 minutes." I was just opening, and it was at the Comedy Connection in Faneuil Hall, and I did my 20 minutes, but at like 15, and I was having a good set. It's not like I was bombing or anything.
That was probably the problem.
I was having a good I was having a good set, and they were like, off to the side of the stage. So I'm like, fuck, what do I do? Like cut in the middle of a joke. So I finished, and they were like, hey, she was, I don't know what her problem was. She just wanted to get on stage early. And I was like, all right, fine. So the next show, they said, just do 10 minutes to open. I go, yeah, no problem. So, Cal, you're used to doing 20 minutes to open up for someone. Now they tell you to do 10. The whole time between the shows, you're like, all right, shit, what do I do? All right, what am I going to do?
Oh, yeah, I know.
All right, I'm cutting this. All right, I just put together 10 minutes in my head. Now I'm doing 10 minutes. I get to the end of 10 minutes, and they're off to the side of the stage going like this.
To stretch.
Because she's nowhere to fucking be found. She went back to her hotel.
God.
She went back to her hotel. This happened to me twice. Her and Jackie the Joke Man. Both times did the same fucking thing. Bitched and complained because I was up there too long on the first show, which I was only doing what I was told. And then the second show I cut, And both times I was being told to stretch. I ended up having to do a fucking half hour before the second show before she showed up because she went back to the hotel and was. And you
changed your order around.
Yeah,
so
you changed everything around.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're like, all right, I'm cutting all these things out, but I'm still going to end on my strong bit, you know? And now all of a sudden I'm on my strong bit, I'm ending, and they're like, oh no, stretch. I'm like, oh, fuck,
God.
You know, and there's 1,000 different stories about different people. You know, when I worked with Jeff Garland, a couple people said to me, oh, he's kind of a prick. He doesn't like to talk to people. He was fine with me.
Yeah.
He hated the host that night, but he was fine with me.
The first time
I think I know who the host was, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think I've told you that story before.
The first time I ever worked with Kevin Meaney, I didn't know he had missed his flight. The limo was late. Like, it was just a shitty night. And he was kind of a dick to me. But I worked with him like 4 times after that, and he was awesome. You know, so sometimes you catch people on the wrong night. So I don't know.
Or there have been sometimes where you catch people at first and you think they're a dick, and then by the end of the weekend you think they're great. You know,
right?
Rich Voss. When I first met Rich Voss, I thought he was a complete Rich Voss. When I first met him, I thought he was a douchebag. I thought he was like this grumpy asshole, and he kind of was. But then
he was just ball busting, right?
We got to the point where we were selling merchandise.
Yep.
And he's on stage and he's like, listen, if you buy Cal's CDs for 10, you can have mine for 5. And because he did that, I sold a shitload of CDs.
Right.
And
that's
that was
awesome.
That was an awesome move.
That's a cool thing to do because I was with you one night at Stitch's Comedy Cafe when the headliner was complaining about you selling merch.
I know. I remember who that. I know. And you mentioned his name earlier too, actually.
And you know, because he wanted to sell merch and he felt you were taking away from him selling merch.
Really?
So
there's nothing that pisses me off more than that shit.
Yeah.
Merchandise cock blocking, as I call it, is the biggest dick move in the business. And I'll tell you who did that to me. Bobby Collins did that shit to me.
Really?
Bobby Collins. And I've heard lots of stories about how he's a great guy. He wasn't great to me.
Really?
He was an asshole to me.
See, and they you know, we had him on the podcast. Ace and I have both worked with him. I worked with him, I think 3 times total. Ace has worked with him a couple times. Never had a bad experience with him.
Because you weren't selling merchandise, or were you? I don't know. Yeah.
He didn't any of the times I was working with him.
Yeah.
He didn't sell merch.
But we will work in a room where this is the kind of room where if you have merchandise, they will buy it, no matter what it is.
Right.
And I had T-shirts, and he was like, no, you can't. I sell my CDs. You can't now. And I'm like, come on, dude. And I took a beating that week because of that. Like, I didn't make shit that week. This is all the way in Alabama, and this fucking asshole wouldn't let me sell my shit. Like, yeah. I was pissed.
Wow, really?
Yeah. He fucked up my whole. And I'll tell everyone he's an asshole to this day for that.
Really?
Fuck him. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing how different people's experiences can be with different people.
Comics.
Yeah.
Another one I've heard people they have horror stories with is Dustin Diamond, but he was never anything but nice to me. I had his phone number. Like I would talk to him every now and then. Yeah.
I've heard good and bad about him.
I've heard good and bad, but I heard more good than bad.
Yes,
I heard a couple of people say bad things, but I heard more people say good
Brian
things.
Bowden loved him.
He loved him. Yeah.
Loved him.
No, he was always nice to me. First time I worked with him, we got. I mean, I'm not even a big drinker, but I was like, "Fuck, I don't. It's not very often you get drunk with Screech,
right?
You know, what I mean, I got to do this.
Right? That's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
That's
we stayed out. We stayed out all night.
You're drunk and you're like, can we call Kelly?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, do you have Kelly Kapowski's number?
Kelly's
Yeah.
number? Let's call her.
I fucking love Kelly.
Love her.
So yeah, we went out and drank like Jaeger bombs all night.
Oh,
and then we both had to do radio like at 7 a.m.
the next day.
There's something about morning radio though, where if you had no sleep, it's almost better. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, it makes you better.
Yeah.
Well, you're punchy, so you're almost funny.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit what you're saying.
I did radio today. This morning, I got up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I had only slept like 2 hours. And I think it was one of the best times I've ever been on that radio station.
There's something about that. I don't know what it is.
You're loose. You somehow you find that middle ground where you still can't swear because it's radio, but you just bring it to the edge, and it ends up being hilarious.
Now you've traveled the country, like we said, so you've done radio all over the place.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Being a master impressionist as you are, do you get called on to do a lot of impressions on the radio?
That's mostly what I do on the radio, because if I don't do that, I'm just going to say fuck. You know
right. Let him do whatever impressions he wants. Otherwise, he's going to drop F-bombs.
Yeah. He's like someone with Tourette's. He can't help himself.
Next thing you know, he's like, fuck.
I never get one. There was one station where like, listen, if you swear, we have like a delay button. I'm like, good.
Tell the guy not to take his finger off the button.
Yeah. That was the wrong thing to say to me, my friend. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
so now. Obviously, as an impressionist myself, how did you start doing impressions? Did you do it when you were younger? I was doing I was imitating shit when I was like 10 years old. I remember.
Yep.
As a kid, I would do Pee Wee Herman and Bobcat Goldthwait. I remember my mom would have me do Pee Wee Herman for her friends sometimes, because it was.
Look what my son does. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first impression, and yeah. I still have friends that want me to do that all the time.
And isn't it crazy? It's been like 40 years, and they're still like, do it. I like you, Dottie. Like you.
There's too many things.
My bike, Francis.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene. Everybody on my bike. Like just this morning, Francis said, Francis!
My bike's not for sale, Francis.
Really? Where are they holding him down?
Master Francis is taking a bath.
My favorite scene is actually in Big Top Pee-wee.
Oh, really?
When they can't. No, I like that one too. It's not as good as but there's one scene that's so fucking funny to me, is where they're trying to find a job for him in the circus, and they just decide, we'll put him in the freak show. And they go, and they have everyone in the freak show lined up. They say what they are. And then at the end they go, and now something that defies explanation. And there's Pee-wee just going, ah! So fucking funny.
Now, did you see the Netflix movie a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that wasn't quite as good.
Really?
I thought it was all right. I thought
it was way better than Big Top.
Did you see Pee-wee's Playhouse live on Broadway when he did that a couple of years ago?
I did.
An HBO special?
Yeah.
I did. There was something weird about that one. I don't know. Like
it was creepy that he did what was once a kid's show as an adult comedy special.
But that's how it started.
I know that, but we all know it really well.
Yeah.
As
Oh, Billy, your sister's here.
Shoemakers!
It was also weird that half the people that are on the show are dead now too.
Not Miss Yvonne.
No.
Oh yeah, Miss Yvonne. She comes out.
She did not age well. She should have not been on that special.
Came out like a fucking wheelchair,
Yeah.
Hey, Pee-wee.
Hey. Miss Yvonne is the prettiest woman.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Let's put it this way. I still remember I was talking to him at Lexus, and we were talking about how there was one, we were like, do you have any, I have to do this clean set. And he's like, do you have any, I don't know. I don't even know if I have any new clean jokes. And I was literally, I actually said this to him. He's like, oh shit, I have this one new retarded joke that's clean. I actually said that to him.
It's retarded, but it's clean.
That's what the man said to
imagine.
me. I go, do you have anything clean? And he goes, well, I do have that one new clean retard joke I did.
suck. By the way, if I did anything like that on stage now, I would be crucified.
Oh my God! Absolutely,
your career's over.
Your
career's over. You do anything like that, and yet Louis C.K. his latest special, Sincerely, that he filmed in 2020. He literally says, "Okay, we're going to talk about retards for the next 20 minutes," and he literally breaks down how in the 70s we use that word and what it meant, and only as he can, kind of desensitizes it as to what it really meant and everything like that,
right.
And comes full circle with this awesome punchline at the end of it. That's just brilliant. But I'm like, if any of us, because we're not do anything like that, our career is over. We're done. Yep. We're done.
We're absolutely done. Yeah.
Only he can do that.
Well, I mean, he did get away with a few things before that, so
Oh yeah.
Oh, by the way, he does end this special.
I saw it. Yeah.
Oh, was that not the way he goes? All right, we'll talk about it, and he totally talked about what he did.
Yep.
And which I think is actually kind of brilliant on his part, because a lot of people, when they get caught doing something or accused of doing something, they try to avoid it, or they try to do the political talk and make it sound different than it is. He just flat out said what it was.
Yeah, he embraced it.
He embraced it, pulled no punches. And I love how he said, if you ask somebody and they say yes, ask them again. And then when they say yes, just don't fucking do it. It was just
what killed me about that whole thing is I don't condone what he did, and I'm not gonna. Right, it was obviously bad, but what killed me is all these comics on Facebook were like, you know what? He was never funny anyway.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, fuck you.
They jump on the bandwagon. They jump on the bandwagon.
Just because he did some bad shit, I will never say he's not funny. Right. I would never say he's not funny.
Ace and I have talked on this podcast. We've done an episode called "What is a Comic Genius?" and we talked about Bill Cosby. Okay, we can separate what the guy did as a monster of a human being from the comedy he created that was genius stuff.
You don't turn around and say he's not funny because he was a scumbag. You know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, scumbag. Absolutely.
Woody Allen is a complete scumbag, but I'll never say he's not a good filmmaker.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You can separate the two. Some people, for some reason, can't. Separate the work from the person, but there is a difference between the two. Louis created some of the best stand-up of the modern generation of stand-ups out there. Bar none.
Right. Absolutely.
His series that he's done on FX, it was some of the very most creative stuff out there. His specials that he put out was great stuff. He wasn't afraid to talk about any subject, and I'm sorry, he humanized a lot of stuff.
No, absolutely.
And he even did stuff about being a road comic and I could relate to that stuff. I mean, maybe not everybody else could, but I remember seeing I think Jim Florentine. I've done weeks like that on the road where you're working with the feature and he's kind of a hack and a kind of a joke, but he kills more than you. And you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Cause you're trying to be, who you are and clever. And he's just doing this shitty stuff up there that the crowd's just eating.
Who am I talking about? I still do Muppet humping.
No one can't say that you're not true to yourself.
No.
I have yet to see anybody else do Muppet humping. So do you still do Chris Farley in your act?
No. Maybe if I'm doing a room where I know that they want me to do a really clean set and I gotta just throw in some extra stuff, maybe, but rarely because it's just been so long now,
Right, because you did a great Farley when you used to do
thank you.
Thank
you. I appreciate it. Okay. For the love of God. Okay, I can't do that too loud because I have neighbors, but
that's what I mean. He whenever he did an impression, just like you do,
he puts 100% into it, right?
You change your body into
you have
person.
To, right?
You physically become the person, and when you used to do that impression on stage, you were a little bigger back then too, so you really kind of put yourself into
the
it.
difference is we as impressionists don't do what they used to do in the 60s.
Oh, when you turn around
and change your hair
Oh,
and
yeah.
come around.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, look,
That was always funny. I'm going to do an impression. Hold on. Yeah. They turn around and like,
All
oh,
right.
they're completely different now.
Frank Gorshin, when he goes, okay, here's Jimmy Stewart as your waiter.
Yeah.
Can I get you a drink there?
Yeah.
I think.
Let me ask you this, because this is one of my pet peeves, is when you see someone who literally, they're not an impressionist like we are, but they have like one impression or it's a shitty impression. My pet peeve is when someone says, do you guys like impressions?
Oh, yes.
I lose my shit off stage. I'm like, don't fucking ask them. Just do it.
Except when Santarelli does it, I like it because he's
totally
almost making making fun of those people.
Well,
you know
yes,
what I mean,
yes.
because
he's doing it ironically.
He's going, you guys like impressions? Here's the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
Here's I don't know what's wrong with you people.
That was fucking perfect.
That was fucking perfect.
Here's tires slipping in snow. I don't know what you're fucking looking for. That was perfect.
What I love about Santarelli is that's just Santarelli being Santarelli.
Santarelli, it's
like
not
you
even
get
an
the
act.
same Santarelli off stage that you get on stage.
Exactly.
You know?
I booked him for a fundraiser one time that I was doing for the high school band in my town. It was me, him, and Mike Murray. Okay. During the show, I was hosting, Murray's featuring, he's closing, obviously. When I'm on stage and Murray's on stage, it was, at an Elks Lodge, people brought pizzas, wings, they brought their own food. He's going from table to table eating food with people. He's
before the show.
You gonna finish that pizza?
You gonna finish that?
And he's eating food at everybody's table. And he gets on stage to do his set, and he literally has wing sauce on his fingers. He's got a stain on his shirt. And I'm like, the guy just ate a feast for the last half hour, and he gets on stage and he's up there doing his act, and he starts with the napkin, and he's just. But and I try to explain to people, you're not seeing a character.
That's just him. That's how he is off stage.
If you hang out with him off stage, that's who the guy is. We had him on the podcast. He's telling us one of the funniest stories I've ever heard in stand-up. And it's like he forgot how a microphone works.
Yeah.
Because he gets up and he's walking
across the room.
And then he comes back to the microphone. And then he's walking away. And then he's coming back to the microphone. Well, like, Frank, you got to stay on the microphone. But he's demonstrating the story, walking around the room away from the microphone.
He's out of his fucking mind.
And that's why we have him in our intro at the beginning saying,
how about a hand for Ace Aceto and Scott Higgins? Both of them coked up out of their minds.
I heard that.
Because he just said it out of the blue in the middle of the fucking podcast.
We're wrapping the show up.
We're trying to wrap the show up, and that's
what
what he says. Right. He's just out of his fucking mind.
I love that shit, man. Oh,
and then your best friend Bobby Collins is also in our intro too.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Yeah.
Different experiences. So,
exactly.
All right, we've covered your start. We've covered, obviously how you came up. Covered how you helped me get started, and we've covered wow moments. Now, our very, very favorite question, the one that all comics love.
Yep, we ask every guest.
I think I know what it is, actually.
Of course you do.
We always end the show with asking our guest about the funny bad gig story, and that is the gig. That is the gig that the night it happened, it wasn't funny at all.
Not at all.
It was just a fucking horrible gig.
That's when you say, maybe I'll call Mark Verduchi and see if Lexus is still hiring.
Yeah.
I have so many of them. I don't even know where to fucking start.
Really? As a road comic, really? You have a lot?
But the one I think that is the worst is so horrifying. I don't even know if it's going to be funny.
All right, try it.
Okay.
And feel free to tell more than one, by the way.
Do you remember when Boston Harbor had they probably still have them, the booze cruises?
Yeah.
And they had comedy booze cruise, right?
Yes.
So I got booked to do one of these. And you remember Ramu? You remember?
Ramu.
Right?
I lost the contest to him.
Yes. I remember that too. So I was doing this with Ramu, and we so it wasn't even that I had a bad set. That wasn't the issue with the gig. I think I did an okay set. But Ramu goes up there and this Hispanic guy is heckling him, and he just says to him like, "What are you gonna do? Tint my windows or some shit like that, right?" and Remu's having a bad set. That was a good line.
I'm saving that line.
So we're done with our sets. We're hanging out on the ship, and this guy who was heckling him, he comes up to Ramu, and he's like, "Yo, man, I didn't like that shit you were saying about me." And I'm standing with Ramu, and this guy pulls up his shirt, and he's got a knife in his pocket.
A knife. Oh.
And his friends are pulling him away, like, "No, man, it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it." And then once again, he comes up to me and Ramu, and he's like, "Yo, I didn't like that shit you were saying." And once again, he shows him the fucking knife.
Shit.
And me and Ramu, we go into the captain's quarters or whatever. Where he's like, "Dude, this guy wants to fucking kill us."
Yeah,
right. This guy's got a gun. I mean,
that's the problem with That's the problem with a booze crew.
You're stuck with these fucking
your show.
people.
You're stuck with them another 3 hours. Right.
Right. So what happened? We had to hide in the captain's quarters for the rest of the cruise, and we had to exit the ship 15 minutes before everyone else and run.
My God, just so you can.
And they kept everyone else on the ship so that we could get a head start on this guy and not get stabbed. Yeah. See, it is funny to you. To me, I'm like, it's fucking horrifying.
I'm sorry, but if I was telling you that story, you'd be laughing your ass
Probably.
off. Absolutely. Listen, and you're lying if you said you wouldn't be.
Oh, I would. Yeah.
Of course you would.
Well, because comics, we love to laugh at any comics going through anything horrifying.
Exactly.
Let's face it.
Exactly.
This is like when we watch a comic bombing, we fucking love that shit.
It's the greatest thing ever.
And if it's a friend of ours, it's even better because we can bust their balls after.
Watching another comic burn in hell on stage is heaven.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
No, I was gonna say the worst is being in the back of the room and watching a guy bomb, and you're laughing, watching him struggle. And then he turns it around, and we're all like, "Oh, you fucking kidding me?
I can't believe you pulled
believe he pulled this out of his ass."
Yeah,
you're almost disappointed.
There's that, and then there's also the point where you see him bombing, and you see how awful the crowd are, and you're laughing at how bad he is, and they're like, "Oh wait, fuck, I'm next." Shit.
This crowd just sucks.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. There's a hole I got to dig out of.
Exactly. It's awesome.
Oh, man. I've never had a knife. I did have someone shoot a gun into a ceiling in the middle of my set.
What?
Yeah.
All right. Tell that, please.
I've told it a couple times, but real quick, I was doing a bachelor party for a motorcycle club with Eddie Galvin.
What could go wrong?
Surprise. We go there. I'm doing 20 minutes to open. I'm halfway through, and all of a sudden I hear a gun fire. Now, I know guns. I've been around guns my whole life. I've hunted, with my grandfather. I know guns. So I hear it. Now, at first I'm thinking, all right, it's probably like a blank. They're just being assholes. But we're in a motorcycle club's private club.
Right.
A place where we went to the door, knocked on the door, and they slide a little peephole
like a
open
speakeasy
and look out at us.
What's the password?
Jesus. And a guy goes, "Yeah." And we're like, "Yeah, we're the comics for the bachelor party tonight." They shut the door. We stand there for 5 minutes. Then they open it up and go,
"You're here 15
yeah, you're all set." And we go inside, and the door shuts behind us, and a bar comes down.
Yeah.
So we're not leaving till we're done. So we go inside, no microphone, no light, no stage. We stand in the middle of their group to do the set. So I'm doing my hey, ever change diapers on a baby? Because I was only a few years in at this point.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the gun goes off. And at first I'm thinking, oh, they shot a blank. They're trying to rattle me. But you don't go after guys in a motorcycle club like you would normal hecklers.
No.
So I figured the best thing to do is just pretend like you didn't even hear it. Ignore it.
Yeah.
But plaster fell from the ceiling. So an actual bullet came out of this gun. So that's when I really said, just finish your set and say nothing. So I said nothing and I finished my set. I bring up Eddie. He does his set. We get done. They're like, we're going to buy you guys a beer. And now, side note, Beautiful club, gorgeous, nice pool tables, beautiful bar, just gorgeous club. So we go over to get a beer, and a guy comes up to me and he goes, I tried to fuck with you, and I shot my gun into the ceiling, but you didn't even like move. And I go, gun? That's a gun? I thought it was a fucking cap pistol. His friends started laughing at him so fucking hard when I said that. They're like, we're buying you a shot. That was great. And everything. And I'm sweating. I'm like, I'm about to get killed in this place. They tipped us. They actually tipped us. They gave us each an extra $50 and said, great job.
Well, that's good. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, you kind of deserve it for almost like possibly getting shot. Yeah,
they gave me They gave me a $50 tip, so I got double the money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I said that was my worst gig, I said that was my worst of many gigs.
Oh no, if you've been doing comedy more than a couple of years, you can.
Well, and especially if you've been around the country like you have, when you're doing road gigs, those are the best. Those are the best stories. Is when you got road stories.
Well, I was going to ask, as a true road warrior, is there just a place in the country that you go to that no matter what you're going to do, it's just never going to be great? You just
fucking New Jersey. I hate New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah. That they're all like it's either like dumb Guidos, and I'm Italian, I can say that shit.
Right.
Or it's just old rich white people. And those are those are the two worst kind of crowds in the world. Because Guidos, all they want to hear is Italian jokes. And if you don't I don't have Italian jokes. I'm Italian, but I don't have them. Whatever.
Right.
And I've had good sets in Jersey. If you go to South Jersey, it's a little better because that's more like performing for a Philly crowd, which I do.
Right,
like
it's
Philly
outside
crowds.
of Philly, right?
But for the most part, I hate New Jersey crowds, man. It's my least favorite state of anywhere in the entire country. No offense, but I'm not always fond of Connecticut either. But it depends on where it is. Yeah.
Oh no. No offense, because it is. I love performing in Rhode Island. I love Rhode Island, and I like going up to Massachusetts. Connecticut, not as easy to work and not as easy at all. I agree with you 100%. I live there, but honestly, I'll go to Rhode Island any day of the week. They're working class. They like to laugh. They like to have a good time. Much better crowds. I'll say it. Absolutely.
Nothing like blue collar people, man, are the best.
People to perform
just the best.
Exactly. They appreciate funny. They're not worried about being offended, politically correct, anything like that. If it's funny, it's funny. They can let stuff roll off their back, and they're fine. They just want to have a good time.
Absolutely.
Those are my people. Now, flip side of that question is, so New Jersey's not your favorite. What is your favorite place to go to?
It's funny because it's right next to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, man.
Yeah, really?
Because that was, since I lived in New Jersey, that seemed to be my number one place to get work out of was Pennsylvania. It was close by. There was a lot of clubs. There was a lot of just weekend rooms. Yeah. And for some reason, those clubs, those audiences, they just always click with me. They're blue collar people. They're fun. They're not easily offended. Always love them. Philly crowds can be tough, but I still like them.
Yeah.
Philly crowds are like they either love you or hate you. But I always respected them. They weren't like New Jersey crowds where just I don't know. They either, like I said, dumb Guidos or fucking just rich white people. Yeah. Rich white people just fucking suck. Yeah. They're the worst.
Yeah, they don't have a sense of humor. No, you're right.
No, they don't.
Only you Italian guys can say fucking dumb Guidos. An Irish guy can't say that.
No.
You guys can say that.
You mix, stay in your own fucking lane, okay?
Us mix. If I say something like that, I'm gonna get fucking knifed on the way home.
I can't stand that mentality, man. And I'm Italian, and I hate that mentality.
Right.
Yeah. Because I'm not like that at all. The only thing Italian about me is my shitty eating habits. You know, what I mean,
you're from Lincoln. You're not a fucking real Italian.
You're like an Olive Garden Italian.
Yeah, you're an Olive Garden.
Well, actually, most of my family grew up in North Providence. I'd say that's pretty Italian.
All right,
yeah, that's Italian.
You're legit.
Yeah.
You're
that's
legit.
Italian. You got to welcome to the family.
But I have two sides. I have the Italian side, and I have like a French and Irish side too. So I'm not like full. Yeah,
Right.
I think I definitely I'm more the French and Irish side. That seemed to be the sillier side of the family too. You know,
Really?
They just laughed at everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
they're
my
drunk
dad is
most of
pretty
the time.
funny too. My dad is Italian, and I'll admit my dad's funny.
Yeah.
So now, where is what's coming up for Cal Verduchi? Anything coming up? On the horizon?
Not a hell of a
Anything
lot yet. I think I know I have one bar gig June 20th. I think it's Noreen's. I think the name of the place. I should have fucking prepared this shit.
No. That's okay, because we were talking about it earlier tonight. It seems like things this spring really aren't clicking yet. But literally a couple of things here or there. But the fall, September, October, November are really starting to take off.
We were talking earlier this week. We both got offered like literally between the two of us at least 6 gigs.
In the last week.
Okay, I haven't yet. I haven't really tried yet because I got to admit I did not get on stage for a year. I didn't do any comedy for a year because it wasn't like I know like in Massachusetts and Rhode Island they still had like outdoor shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Not in Vegas. Vegas was just shut down. No entertainment. Nothing.
Yeah.
I know there were some secret shows, but from what I understand,
but nobody knew about them.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was they were secret.
They were secret.
Can you keep a secret? No. No. Jesus Christ.
Revert right back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here comes the homo high five.
Flap. Air flap.
I remember another thing I said one day is I remember when I worked there, they didn't want me to have overtime. And I was like, listen, I have to leave early because I can't have any OT.
O-T.
Yes.
We did so many things that are so wrong.
All right. So what can we promote for you, Cal?
I mean, really,
website,
I think that's about it.
Do you still have your website? Get me on SNL or
no? It's funny. Over the course of the pandemic, I just kind of was like, "What the fuck do I need this anymore for?" So it was a shitty website anyway. So I need to rebuild and get another website. But
Facebook, what people can follow you on Facebook, right?
Facebook, yeah.
Instagram or Twitter, any of those?
My cat has an Instagram.
Yeah, I know. Follow Jamie Lee Curtis.
Curtis.
We'll put her name up right now.
She's in the other room. She's probably pissed right now.
Yeah. Because you're denying her from chewing on that fucking earbuds now. That's why. I know.
So yeah, you definitely Cal, you come out here and do any shows anymore?
I have not been out there in so long. It's been a good 4 years. Yeah.
All right. If you come out to New England, you got to let us know.
Yeah, let us know
because we'll have you in studio.
Yeah.
Because we do panel shows, we do shows where we kick around subjects and stuff like that. So I'm glad I don't
even know who to work for anymore though, like because I haven't worked for anyone out there in so long.
I was gonna say we barely know anymore either, but I'm sure Parada can find some stuff for you.
Rock the room, brother.
Hey, brother.
Hey,
they got
buddy.
a great chicken palm there, brother.
He just
great
booked,
chicken palm.
He just booked me and Scott for a gig in October. It's fucking great. I can't wait.
It's gonna be great. You'll be up. There's 10 more comics, and then you're up. Yeah.
I actually got to give John credit. Over the years,
gotten better. He's
gotten better. He doesn't do the marathon shows anymore.
Oh, okay.
He books a good comedy show now where there's not more than 18 people on it. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
The headliner goes up in the middle now.
He does 3 to 4 comics at the most now. And Parada's one of those guys. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the reason why there was so many comics on the show because he was so nice that he wouldn't say, he wasn't going to say no to people. You know
but
what I mean?
You know what? But we needed guys like him to get stage time for all these.
Yes.
For all of
no,
us.
I love Parada. I just like to bust balls because.
Oh yeah,
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
We had him on one night. We were doing a benefit show for Dave DiLorenzo when Dave passed.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about that until months later.
Yeah.
He was another really nice guy.
Yeah, he was. And we talked about a really bad gig that Dave DiLorenzo booked. It was in a gazebo in the parking lot of a mall here in Rhode Island.
Garden
What
City.
could go wrong?
Yeah.
And what was Parada's quote on that one?
Parada was like, brother, you know me, I'll book anything, but I wouldn't even book that.
I'd book a bus. He goes, I'd book a bus stop.
Yeah, I'd book a bus stop, but I wouldn't book the gazebo at fucking Garden City.
And I love that the guy can joke about himself now, in his gigs and stuff like
You
that.
have to.
It's so great. It's so great. But it was awesome having you on, man. It's been way too long.
it was a
to
blast,
talk to you.
man. Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
We've talked about you so many times, and I said to Scott, I go, hey, I'm going to reach out to Cal because you've talked about him so many times. I want to get him on just to talk a little bit more about his career.
But just so you know, because we talked about it at the beginning of the episode, we told the story about that night. You told Ronnie that I was a comic from out of town, and he gave me the spot at the Grill 93 on the Sunday night show.
Yep.
And in the middle of telling that story, Dave Russo goes, can we just take a moment and hats off to Cal Verduchi
for doing that,
for recognizing that you had the potential to be able to do it, and for saying, fuck that, we're going to get this guy on stage, and for lying to the guy and get you on stage that night. He goes, hats off to him for doing that. Good for him. Yep. So that was how the conversation started about you with Russo.
With Russo.
And I didn't even know I was well respected. This is nice.
No, Russo, he thinks very highly of you.
Did
actually. So that we had a fun conversation about you with Russo, and it was kind of funny because we had Russo on, and we're drinking our whiskey, and he's drinking bottles of wine
from Fulcino Vineyards, 1 hour north of Boston, just near Nashua.
we talked for almost 2 hours, and by the end of it, it almost turned into I love you, man.
Yeah.
It got pretty weird by the end of it. But anyway, man, it's great having you on tonight.
Oh, it was awesome.
It's been way
Thank
too
you.
long.
Cheers to you, and let us know when you're back in the area, because we'd love to have you in the studio one of these times.
I would love that.
And get you on some shows out here too.
Absolutely.
So if you're ever visiting family, let us know.
All right, man. Thank you for having me on. This was a blast.
Thanks you so much, Cal.
Man.
Great seeing you, man.
Have a good night, man. We'll talk to you. And that was Cal Verduchi.
The reason I do comedy today, the reason we have a podcast.
Yeah, he's to blame.
He is. He is.
It's his fault.
It's his fault.
That's right.
It was so funny because
awesome.
he mentioned working at Lexus, and he would tell me about working at these clubs, and I was like, oh, I love comedy, I'm into comedy, and he's like, and I would tell him about comedy ideas I have, and he goes, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Premise,
did you ever think about doing comedy? And I'm like, I think I missed the boat on that. And then I would tell him, well, here's an idea I have if you ever want to use it. And he goes, I can't do that.
Right. It doesn't fit in my style.
He goes, and he keeps, encouraging me to come up with these ideas. And then the next thing you know, I had a set.
Yeah.
And he'd say, okay. And I didn't realize he was doing that to me.
Right.
And he kept encouraging me till I had a 5-minute set. He goes, all right, let's get you on stage now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I love the guy for that.
Yeah.
He totally got me hooked. He was encouraging.
It's funny because you always said that you were friends with him, but I never understood where you met. I didn't realize you worked at Lexus together. So,
and another quick funny side story is I remember Stitch's Comedy Cafe opening up, and I was one of the guys that made the leap to go work over there. And Cal and I are at work one day, and he goes, hey, where are you working this weekend? I go, I'm at Stitches all weekend long.
Yeah.
He goes, who are you working with? I go, I'm working with a guy named Tom Cotter. And he goes, oh, Tom's a great guy. And I go, yeah, I don't know him. And he goes, oh, you're going to love working with him. I go, yeah, I don't even know what he looks like. And he goes, well, he's right there at the parts window if you want to meet him. I go, what?
Really?
Tom was buying a key for his wife's car because at the time she had a Lexus.
Oh, that's
and
hilarious.
He introduced me to Tom. And
the weekend before you were going to be working with him.
It was the day.
Oh, it was the day of?
It was
it's like, hey, you'll see him later on.
It was
tonight.
on the Friday, and that night, Tom and I are working together.
No, it was
And,
awesome.
You know,
Holy
almost
shit.
20 years later, Tom and I still know each other.
Wow.
You know, so it's funny how all these different things kind of blend together.
It's Rhode Island.
You know, so
That's
it's
how it is.
and all these guys are just such awesome guys.
Yeah.
You know, Cal's one of those guys, folks. If you know, he doesn't get out here in the East Coast a lot, but you know, we have listeners all over the place.
If you
see his name on the bill,
go see him. He's hilarious.
A high energy guy, does great impressions, but you are going to be entertained.
Yep.
And you know, definitely if you go see him, say you saw him on the Behind the Funny podcast.
Yep.
He's a very likable guy. He's a very warm guy once you get to meet him. He may not seem like it when he's on stage because, like I said, he puts everything he has into his performance.
Yeah.
And that guy gives his all every time he steps up there to entertain that crowd. So I'm so happy. I'm glad you reached out to him, man.
Yeah.
That was when you told me you booked him, I was like glowing, and happy. So.
I knew because we've been talking about him for so many years, and I'm like, you know what, I want to get him on. I want to reach out to him.
Yeah,
so
that was awesome.
It was perfect timing.
That was awesome.
No, listen, folks, we really appreciate you listening. Again, and like we said at the top of the podcast, please go on in and give us a 5-star written review, even if it's just a sentence saying, hey, love this show, love these guys, whatever you want to say. 5-star written review really does help us with pushing the podcast up in the ratings. Also, please tell a friend about us.
Yes.
You know, we can't thank you enough. We know that that's been happening already, because the listenership has grown exponentially over the past year. So we really appreciate that. And then just to let you know what the upcoming month is going to be like. So I'm throwing it up right now. Next week, we have hilarious Jimmy Tingle, who is a Boston comedy legend, one of the original political humorists. He is one of the first guys on Comedy Central. I mean, Jimmy is just amazing. Next week, the following week on the 16th, we have Brian Kiley, another Boston original, another guy from the Ding Ho, like Jimmy Tingle. Brian was one of the younger guys at the Ding Ho with Mike Bent, who you've heard on the show before. And Brian went out to LA and has been a very, very successful writer. He's been a writer on the Conan O'Brien show for years, and actually is now the head writer. And they're just now about to end the Conan O'Brien show. So it'll be interesting to talk to Brian about what his next move is. And then we're really excited for the 23rd. Sean Morey is going to be on. He is literally, this is going to bring the whole story of New England and Boston comedy full circle.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for Sean Morey, absolutely not one comic in New England or that came from New England would be in comedy, because he is the guy that started the scene.
Yeah, if you've been with us for a while, then you've heard the original Boston comedy stories. But everyone referenced that this guy was the reason comedy started in Boston.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to hear the stories right from
so
the source.
So excited for that. And then we're going to round out the month with our friends from Wicked Funny Podcast, Brian Bowden.
I can't wait.
Frank Azzaro and Katie Arroyo. We're going to just come on. We're going to bullshit. We're going to have a fun night. And that it's honestly going to be a really, really fun June. So please tell your friends about us. And again, if you haven't, we're streaming over to Facebook Live for this month. But the way that you're going to be able to see this show is every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. on Twitch TV. And that is an app that you can get on your phone. You can get it on your TV. It's if you have Amazon Prime or Apple TV, it's already on there. You could just look it up. It's Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. If you put in Drinks, Jokes, it's automatically going to come up. And that's the channel that we're on. And aside from our show on Wednesday nights, there is a ton of great content. There's a bunch of great podcasts on this channel, and we really would love for you to check it out. So I think that's all I have.
Yeah. And recently we've started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
If you type in Behind the Funny Podcast in your YouTube search, ever since we started streaming these live, all of those videos are being uploaded to a YouTube channel. And if you've missed any, want to rewatch any, all of those are on there, and click subscribe on that, and you will get notifications as those videos come up on there as well.
Yeah. So after we get done with the show tonight, we download it the next day onto the YouTube channel. So so there's a million different ways you can get this podcast. As always, Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, Spreaker, Spotify,
however you listen to your podcast, we are there.
We're there.
We are there. Give us a 5-star review there. And at the end of this month, we're going to put all those names, like we said at the beginning of this podcast tonight, into a hat. Actually, we're going to draw it live.
We'll do it live on the show.
We'll do it live on the show. The first show we do in July.
Yeah.
And whoever that person is, you can message me and tell me which type of hoodie you want, either the pullover or the zip up, and I'll order that for you and get it sent out to you. Awesome. And you will get a hoodie, the live from the basement behind the funny hoodie.
Or putty.
Yeah, I think I need another bourbon.
I'm good.
Great night. I'm just in a cloud 9 right now because
that's awesome. Also because you got 2 hours sleep last night. So.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but just having Cal on tonight, and that's kind of a full circle story for me. Then we got to show Maury for a full circle story later this month, and just so much going on. It's fantastic.
So listen, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And other than that, we will see you
next week.